All right, guys, what's up? It's Jack, and welcome back to another video. And today's discussion is going to be about live service games, and we're obviously going to be talking about XDefiant here. And this video was actually kind of inspired by Drifter because in his video talking about XDefiant, his most recent one, as far as XDefiant is concerned, he basically mentioned, and again, I'm paraphrasing here, to where basically when it comes to a live service multiplayer game such as XDefiant, right? And obviously XDefiant's not the only live service game out on the market that is free to play, but when it comes to games like that, people just logging in and playing the game isn't enough to keep it going because apparently the publishers basically have to pay a certain, fee to keep the servers up and running. So therefore it's actually costing the publishers money for you to play that game. And that is kind of a scary fact. And that's what I wanted to talk about today, because I don't know about you guys. I miss the days where we used to, before microtransactions even became a thing, before live service games became a thing, I miss the days to where you actually would go to the store, or you would go to a midnight release or whatever the deal was. You'd pay full price for a certain game and you would get that game and all of its features right there at launch, right? Sometimes some games would need a post-launch patch or something like that to fix a few bugs and things like that, or maybe a patch would come out in the near future in order to fix bugs and stuff like that. But for the most part, everything was earnable in-game. All the content was in-game, and there were at least the least amount of bugs as possible. And games were actually released a hell of a lot more complete than they are now. And a lot of corporate higher ups would probably use the excuse of, oh, it's a live service game and it's free to play. You don't have to pay anything to play and to access the game, in order to justify a game coming out that is not complete, so to speak. With a lot of live service games, we're certainly getting releases that are half baked in the oven, and by the time they reach their full year after they've been released, they then that's when they feel truly complete, right? But however, no matter how buggy a game is, no matter what problems a game has in any category, right, of problems that you can think of, one thing that is always, that never fails in any game that is a live service game, or even if it's not a live service game, and if it's a complete game at retail price, and on top of that there's microtransactions on top of that, like Call of Duty, just to give a prime example, the store always works. No matter what, the store always works. The store never gets buggy and stuff like that. However, if it is true, which I believe it is, because I believe what Drifter is saying, if it is true that a game that is live service, that is free to play, lives or dies on the money that comes in, even though it's free to play, then it's a scary fact that people have to actually, spend money on microtransactions in order for the game to flourish and to continue to get support. Especially when the things in the store may not be may not be an appeal to players. Like for instance, a lot of people about XDefiant have been saying that there's nothing that appealing to them in the store, and on top of that, there's also a lot of things in the store that are overpriced. And those are really big problems when you think of it, right? And on top of that, XDefiant, from a content perspective, in terms of its own multiplayer, because it's not a AAA game, because there's no campaign, there's no extra mode, there's just multiplayer, right? Which is, for me, that's perfectly fine, because I've always just been a multiplayer guy as far as games like this are concerned. But the problem is that the XDefiant is not going to feel quote unquote complete up until probably either the end of season 3 or somewhere in season 4, or like, let's just say by the end of year 1. Let's just be real here. This is also another problem that has plagued other games such as Halo. Now, Halo released the way it released in terms of Halo Infinite because of things that were going on behind the scenes, but you can't really deny the fact that the corporate higher ups push games like this to get released, because they get to a certain point to where they are quote unquote playable, despite the fact that they have bugs, despite the fact that they it's not complete, there's not complete features and stuff like that. They still get pushed out to release because, hey, money, right? And because, hey, we have a store going on with cosmetics and we want to make that Fortnite money, right? I mean, everybody's been chasing Fortnite since God knows when, right? I mean, it's a really big deal when you get a franchise like Call of Duty that actually chased what Fortnite what Fortnite has been able to accomplish. This is one of the reasons why they created Blackout. This is one of the reasons why, we went from, with the whole battle pass system and everything like that. This is, I mean, there's a lot of reminiscence in that. There's a lot of proof in that. But the problem is with live service games that a lot of them, it's very apparent, not all of them, but a lot of them get released and they are half baked. And for a lot of consumers, that let's say, would be willing to purchase something in the store will still not purchase something in the store because the game itself is incomplete, or because sometimes they even say like, hey, I just don't like what's presented here, I don't like what's in the store, blah blah blah. And there's a multitude of reasons as to why people will not buy something. And this is one of the biggest problems with XDefiant, in my opinion. A lot of people have said that basically even the battle pass is not worth it because it's very bare bones. Some people will say stuff in the store is not worth it because, number one, it's overpriced, and number two, it just doesn't look very appealing to them. And on top of that, they'll also add on the fact that the game itself, despite the fact that they see its potential and they may support it, they're not gonna buy anything right away, simply because of the fact that, hey, the game's got problems, so therefore the foundation of the game's not good. So it's like, why would I buy cosmetics that I could, that I could have in my game, right, to make my character look good, or to have a weapon skin, or whatever it is, right? Why would I do that if the experience of the game itself is not very good, right? If my experience in the game itself is not very good because of netcode issues, or because of the fact that it just doesn't feel that satisfying to play because there's no progression system, or there's no quote unquote reason to come back, right? Because again, there's players like me that just enjoy the game because it's fun to play, right? Despite its problems and despite its inconsistencies, it is a fun game to play overall. But that's not the case for everybody. And this is coming from a person that only spends money on the battle pass, right? That's it. I'm not a person that gets microtransactions in game at all. For me personally, it's not worth it to me. It just it does nothing for me, right? I'm one of the very few when it comes to this. But again, if you've got things in the store that are not very, very appealing to the consumer, guess what? They're going to be a lot like me, to where it's like, hey, this has no value to me. Now, for other people, the stuff that the cosmetics that are in the store or whatnot do have value to them, and it's great. And obviously, with XDefiant, it is a game that is going to be supported for years, hopefully for years to come. So that way, everything that you've ever bought in the store, you can continue to use in the store, and it's not going to be, something that is completely, irrelevant after about a year or something like that, which is great. So when you look at it from both sides, it's like, yeah, the potential is there, and this game could be something as well. But when you go back to the fact that I hate to say, but it's true, when you go back to the fact that people actually need to spend money on microtransactions in order for the game to thrive, I can't help but feel a certain way about that. Because again, I understand that you get what you pay for, right? And I understand that back in the day we used to pay $50, $60, or $70, for a complete game. And to this day, there are games that are released at $70 that actually are complete experiences. But I can't help but realize that because 90% of games out there have cosmetics in them, despite the fact that they're also or microtransactions in them, despite the fact that they're released at full retail price as well, for the base game and stuff like that, I can't help but think that a lot of games are releasing more buggy than usual, and because they're just forced out way too soon. And because a lot of these other higher up corporates or whatnot have realized what the free-to-play live service games have done, I think this is a primary reason as to why a lot of games are releasing incomplete and, or should I say, more buggy than usual. They're not optimized. I mean, even when you look at PC, for instance, right? PC is the best platform that you can play your games on, right? In theory, and well, it actually, not just in actuality, but it's sounding like a theory simply because of the fact that there are a lot of games out there that are not fully optimized to do what the PC is capable of doing, right? If you've invested in a PC, right, that thing is supposed to have if you get a game that is released on the PC as well as everything else, the best version of that game needs to be on the PC because of what your rig is capable of doing and compared to console. Even if you get a mid grade tier PC, that thing should be smoking consoles. But that's obviously not the case, right? But and again, I don't know if this is, again, I'm very new when it comes to the whole PC knowledge thing, because I only got mine about a couple years ago. But I don't know if this was always the case, right? I do remember that there were a few games back in the day that really sucked as far as PC optimization goes, but right now it just seems to be a trend. And the thing is, again, with these games getting pushed out, and with so many games having microtransactions in them, even if they're full retail price games on release, and they're buggier than usual. I mean, of course, there's the challenges of today's technology and stuff like that. But honestly, it's like the evidence is right there. It's like these games are just getting pushed out way too soon, in comparison to when they should be. You know, it's like kind of like Halo Infinite. They had they had these micro contractors or whatnot or whatever the deal is, to where they would only work for 18 months and then they'd be gone, right? And it took them 6 months to learn the engine. They kept on recycling devs, and therefore the game would hardly make any progress to the rate that it should have been made. And that's one of the reasons why Halo Infinite is in the state that it was. But hey, the store still works, you know, and hey, there's cool stuff in the store, and hey, this, and hey, that. But when you look at Halo Infinite in terms of the bare bones game that it was for the first, I don't know, year and a half after its release, it really sucks, because Halo should be, even to this day, despite its age, Halo should be doing a hell of a lot better than what it is now. You know, despite the game that right now, despite the fact that Halo right now is you know, working the way it should, it's got all the bells and whistles and all that kind of stuff. I mean, man, imagine if it actually released like that, right? It would still be a game that was received very well, reviewed very well. The community would be a hell of a lot happier. The community would be a hell of a lot more hyped for the next game and stuff like that. But instead, what are you getting? You're getting a community that is basically saying that Halo is quote unquote dead. So when you transfer that to XDefiant, it's like, no wonder people are saying the game is dead, right? It makes absolute sense to assume such a thing. But with that being said, XDefiant is still one of those games that has the potential to do so much better and to actually, you know, make a difference. However, it's all about patience and it's all about time. And in a generation to where people are just not willing to wait, and with other games out there releasing in the meantime, you know, it's something that XDefiant has a long ways to go before it could, you know, prove all the naysayers wrong. Will that happen? I guess only time will tell. But all I know is that, in my opinion, except for the very few games out there that are managing to do it right, live service sucks. But anyway, with that being said, guys, those are my words on that. I want to know down in the comment section what you guys think. And again, this is not me pointing my finger and saying XDefiant sucks or something like that, because you guys know I love the game. But at the same time, I am going to, you know, speak my mind and point out what I see. So and again, this is why I believe that XDefiant also should have, if XDefiant got delayed a year, and if we were to get seasons 1 through 4 content at launch and everything like that, the bells and whistles with everything in the store looking better and all that kind of stuff, I think XDefiant would be in a much more consistent and better point than it is. That's my opinion. But despite that, I want to know down in the comment section what you guys think. I like to thank everybody for taking the time to watch and or listen. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll catch you guys on the next one.